processed like cheap meat into a salami or a bologna or a hot dog or something along those lines. And you can't let yourself go through their process in their way. It doesn't serve you. And that's why many of you are out of work for much longer than you need to be. So again, as a reminder, have your questions ready for me. I want to be able to answer them today so that you can get some advice that will help you. I'll also point out jobsearch.community, which is a site that I created because I've been prolific with creating content. However, what I've done at jobsearch.community is simplify things for people. See, I've charged for all my video courses, books, and guides individually. I've made a lot of money from that. However, what I've done because of this economy that we're in is bundle everything together into low price products. So a course that I would normally charge $49 or $59 for is part of a bundle that you can get access to for $49 for everything. And what I've done is, you can become an insider. And I want to be clear, there's free stuff on the site as well. Again, jobsearch.community. I have free stuff on the site. And if you become an insider, you get access to all my video courses, books, and guides, plus can ask me questions through the site to which I'll respond. For $79, in addition to all of that, you get me for a couple of Zoom calls a month. And then there's full coaching, which I can do as an individual or as part of a group, which is much more expensive, of course. I charge $1,000 a month for that. And I've charged more, but I'm trying to be helpful to people, and I have to pay my own bills. So for $1,000 a month, you get individual and group coaching, plus all the video courses, books, and guides. Plus, you can message me questions or do a couple of quick Zoom calls a month. I want to help more people. Now, before I go into the Q&A, I just want to start off by saying, it's rough out there. When I read the jobs report this month, just like all the jobs reports I've read for the last almost 2 years, there are jobs being created in the United States, but they tend not to be for college-educated professionals. That's the issue for many of you. The job market is not a job market for college-educated professionals. When you look at the report, there are government workers being added, some of which I'm sure are for college-educated people, but most are not, or government adjacent, such as social services or healthcare. Their jobs, if you want to wait tables, are 10 bar. Plenty of those jobs. And we're starting to see a little bit of a showing for what they call information workers, which is a pretty broad classification. I'm sure it includes IT, it may include social media, but not a lot by comparison to the others. Like, whereas government has created a few 100,000 jobs in the last, I'm sorry, I think it was like 60,000 jobs. I'm working off the top of my head for government workers, and there were like another 50 or 60 for government adjacent. For information work, there was 5,000 jobs. Big difference. And that's what the report keeps showing time and time again. So I just want to simply say, I'm here to help. And part of this is there are jobs out there, not a lot of them, and you have to be able to compete in order to even get your foot in the door. Now, at the site, one of the courses I have behind the paywall is how to find job leads. I also have one that's free, which I think would be very helpful for many of you, is about doing an elevator pitch. And the elevator pitch one, it's simple, it's fun. You don't feel like taking a shower after you do it. So minimally go to jobsearch.community, download the free stuff that's available to you. I'm here to help. Okay. Now, I've got a lot of questions that I've received in advance of the show, but if you're someone who's got a question for me, put it into chat so I can deal with it live today, and I can help you. Okay. So here's the first one. If you applied for a job twice and never got considered for an interview. You got considered for an interview, you got rejected. Is it okay to cold email the hiring manager, provided you have his email, or find him on LinkedIn? Absolutely, because the system may have screened you out because your resume did not comply with a format that allowed the system to recognize that you were qualified. So, stipulation number one in answering this question is that you are actually qualified for the job and your resume can make a case for it. And your LinkedIn profile has to be congruent with making that case because no hiring manager is going to agree to see. I'm going to use an example of this because I had this happen to me when I still did recruiting. They are not going to interview a Purdue chicken plucker for a Java development job. And yes, that did happen. So recognize your resume has to make a case for you being qualified. I would include it with your resume, with your email, or for your in-mail, and just simply say, for some reason, I wasn't interviewed for the role. I have a hunch the system screened me out. I'm attaching my resume, which I want you to make sure it makes a case for you being qualified based upon your understanding of the job. And I'm not sure why I wasn't qualified based upon this, but I didn't get invited for an interview. I thought you would want to see it. If you agree, that's fine. If you don't agree, that's okay too. If you can get the email address, that's preferable because not everyone gets the notification from LinkedIn that there's an email waiting for them or there's a message waiting for them. So preferably try and contact them by email. And if you can't, try doing an in-mail. So this way you have a shot of getting through to them. Okay. Here's the next question. What should I do if I submit a generic resume? I'm not sure what you're asking, but I'm going to take a guess at it. The answer is be prepared for nothing. Be prepared for no interview. Be prepared for your resume being deleted and rejected. Because the fact of the matter is, like the broken watch that's right twice a day, a generic resume will work sometimes, but not as often as it could if you weren't lazy and you modified your resume to demonstrate your fit for the job. Once you're acting in a lazy manner, you deserve what you get because, again, it's not going to make a case for you being qualified. So, what should I do? I would suggest trying to resubmit it with a resume that actually fits the role and is not generic. It demonstrates how you would solve their problem, how you've done that before, how you've used the technology that they need, on and on and on, so that this way you have a chance of getting an interview. I'm not saying hired, but you have a chance of getting interviewed. What would I say if they ask me in a job interview, what makes you unique? I'm a rookie and I didn't have any idea. I'll tell you when I don't know something. That was my note to myself. Let me elaborate upon this. I'll tell you when I don't know something and need to figure it out. One of the things that rookies often do, and I coach a couple of rookies at this time, they think they have to hunker down and solve the problem on their own and not ask for support or advice. And that's a mistake. So as a beginner, one of the things you can promise them is, look, I have been told that my work will have an impact on other people. And the result is, one of the commitments I can make to you is that if I'm running into a problem, if I'm in a situation where I don't quite know what to do, what I'm going to commit to you is that I'll come to you for help. And maybe you could point me towards someone in the organization who can help me, who has the time to help me, or you'll tell me, figure it out, take your time, don't worry about it. But I don't want to leave other people waiting for me just in case it really is true that my work affects the work of other people. So my promise is that if I struggle, if I have difficulties, if I'm not sure what to do, I'll tell you when I don't know something, and whether I need your help in figuring it out. I think that's a great answer because that's always one of the issues that rookies have. They think they're supposed to know everything and they don't. Even the very experienced people don't know everything. So that's the way I would answer that question. I'll just remind you before we go on, if you've got a question about a job search, put it into chat so I can answer it live. Okay. Here we go. We've got the next question. Let's see now. Oh, yes. I had an interview for a higher position and asked if I would stay in the company if they will choose a different person. What would be the best answer for that question? I love this one. Let me just start off by saying what they want you to say is, look, it'd be a hard thing for me to do. However, yes, I would stay, but I hope you would tell me and give me the courtesy of why you chose the other person. That's what they want you to say. And for many of you, that is the right answer because you don't have the cojones to do this second one. So stick with that as an answer. I hope you tell me what it is that prompted you to choose this other person rather than me for this role. What their knowledge base was, what their experience was that made them a better fit for this role. That's answer number one. Here's answer number two, which I think is an even better answer in many organizations. The answer is, I'm not sure. I don't want to answer right now because I'm feeling emotional. So let me come back to you with an answer in a few days when I'm less likely to be angry or frustrated about a choice, because the way I'm interpreting this is that you are choosing the other person and you want to make sure I'm going to stay. I don't know that at this point. I'd want to know why you chose the other person. If that was the right decision, I'll tell you. But I don't know today whether I would stay. And thus, what you're signaling to them is you're a flight risk. And they may need to do some things to accommodate you too. And I think for some organizations and some people, that is definitely the right answer to give because they need to know that you're not a wuss, that you have responsibility. And actually, they have a responsibility to talk to you and to treat you like a human being so that in this way, you don't flee their organization. Okay. I've got more today. How to increase the possibility of getting hired? Let's see now. I hadn't. No, that's the wrong one. There we go. How do I increase the possibility of getting hired after a first over-the-phone 30-minute interview? The lady asked me to let her know if I decide to take another job. Is that a good sign? So I understand you're a relatively junior person because that's signaled in this question. Because the lady, as you refer to her, is probably a human resources screener. And what she wants to know is whether you have something else going on. So she can stretch out her interview process as long as possible before having to communicate with you that they've chosen someone else, they're not prepared to bring you on board, what have you. So her desire for you to tell her that you've got something else going on or you're taking another job is nothing. It means nothing about you getting hired, is not indicative of a good sign. All it is Okay, you had a first interview with HR. They're not ready to say yes. They're not ready to say no. They want to know if you have something else going on that they should know about in case they decide that you're the right person for them. That's all it means. There is no promise or commitment about you getting this job, not in the least. So I would tell you keep interviewing, keep pushing yourself out there. There is nothing here to indicate that they're prepared to hire you. And I'll just remind you, if you've got a question about job search, put your question into chat so I can answer it live. Okay? Let's continue on. I've been unemployed for more than a year. This is one of the sad stories I'm seeing with regularity. And during job interviews, recruiters always focus on that aspect. How can I cover that detail for not leaving a bad impression? So the answer is, and most people don't want to hear this, is you need to lie to them. That's the way to do it. Now, get into the habit of modifying your resume so that under your last job, you say something along the lines of, I was laid off and then I became ill. And it took a while to recover. I'm well now. There's no issues whatsoever with my health. I am ready to return to work. Okay. And that becomes the way to deal with it. Because if you say things like, well, I haven't had a lot of interviews, but I'm ready to work. Or I haven't found the right opportunity. Really, in a year? They're not going to believe you. And worse than that, they're going to think you're trying to bullshit them. Excuse my language. So the long and the short of it is how to deal with it. They want to be lied to. What kind of a health issue? I prefer not to really talk about it. Let me just simply say I'm well now. No, it was not psychiatric. It was medical. And I'm well at this point, and I'm ready to return to work. In other words, again, tell them a lie. The recruiter will feel better in representing you to their real decision maker, who's the hiring manager. That's the fact of it. The hiring manager is the one who makes a decision whether or not to do the next interview. And if you're talking to the hiring manager, you have to look them squarely in the eye, even if it's over Zoom. Look them in the eye and say, I got laid off, staff reduction, that sort of thing. And not long after, I took ill. And it took a long time to recover, but I'm okay now. I've been well for quite some time. I'm ready to return to work. Not a psychiatric issue. I just want to be clear about that. But I had a medical problem, and I'm ready to return to work. What sort of a medical problem? I prefer not talking about it, HIPAA and all that sort of thing, but I'll just simply say, I am well. I am ready to return to work. Some firms will believe you. Those are the ones that you're getting over on. And other firms won't trust that as a statement. That gives you better odds than what you have now, which is them all in the position of listening to you say, for 1 year, I have not been able to find a job. 1 full year. I've been unable to find a job. That doesn't make you look good. If anything, they know people have been hired in the last year, and they wonder, because most people don't know the data that I talked about at the beginning of this show. Most people don't know how tough it is out there if they're working. So I'll just simply say, you're stuck having to lie to people. Not ideal, but if you want to be principled and keep telling the truth, you will get the same results you've been getting up until this point, unfortunately. When should you give up on a job search? I know the person who asked me this question. And I will start off by saying, if you are independently wealthy, if you won the lottery recently, if you are a rich person, you can give up whenever you like. because the money doesn't mean anything to you. The work means something to you, yada, yada, yada. So, what I would say to you is um, get yourself on track, get to work, visit jobsearch.community, and take advantage of some of the great information I have available to you there. It will make a difference for you. And start with the free stuff, then join and become either an insider, an insider plus member, or an insider premium member. So I'll just simply say, I'm here to help. And that's why I made this easier for people rather than going to my other site where I've got more than 12,000 posts that people watch, listen to, or read. It's not presented coherently or cohesively because they're blog posts. But I'll just simply say at jobsearch.community, I've put together video courses, books, and guides to help. Plus, you can ask me questions, get me on Zoom calls, and receive coaching from me. Again, jobsearch.community. So don't give up. Don't give up. Get better. Because that's really the issue for you, is getting better in your job search so that you can perform and get hired. Okay. Let me go to the next question. Oh, yes. What is the purpose of companies asking about salary requirements during the interview process? Is there a way to avoid this question? Now, back in the olden days, they'd ask you how much you were earning and how much you were looking for. They want to see wide discrepancies between current salary and desired salary because they all worked with formulas of how much they could increase your salary. However, in many parts of the United States, they cannot legally ask about your current salary. So they've switched over to focus on salary requirements. Now, they want to know whether you're in budget. It's up to you to prove you're worth that money. So, what the purpose is to see whether your background, as you demonstrate on interviews, is reasonable given what they're willing to pay and what they need someone to do. Is there a way to avoid this question? Absolutely. Usually this question is going to be asked by a screener, an HR person who's there to screen people out. The way I always coach people to respond to this is by saying, all I know about this job is what I was told by the Rona, the recruiter, what I read in an ad, what my friend Phil, who works for your firm, told me about the position. I haven't met my future boss. I haven't met the team. I've read a job description, but that may or may not be accurate. And, I have no sense of what his or her expectations for me are going to be or what the demands of the role. All I've done is read this or been told that. And could we circle back to that later? Well, I need a number from you. I want to be clear. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say one thing. Could we circle back to that later? And by the way, what's the salary range for the position? So this way you hear the range from them. Now, if they say, I need a number from you, well, you can say, at this time, I'm going to talk with you about the high end of the scale. However, once I've met with people, I may be flexible. I may be flexible downward. I may be flexible upward. But it depends upon what I learn about the role in subsequent interviews if you actually have me back. Can we circle back to that on another occasion? And thus what you're doing is what I nickname defer and deflect. Defer until a later time, deflect until you know more, at which point you're going to circle back, but you're not. You're going to wait for them to reach out to you, and you can then speak to a number because that serves you and your interests best. Okay. Again, just put your questions about job search into chat so I can answer it later. We go on. Let me just check one thing. Good. What is the best answer If your job interviewer asks you, have you ever made a mistake at work? Why? I'm not sure. Given where this person put the quotation marks, I'm not sure why refers to the original question or why is this the best answer to the question. So the way to answer this is a little tongue in cheek. Oh no, I have never made a mistake before. By the way, I have this bridge in Brooklyn that you might be a prime candidate for if you believe that. And they will probably chuckle a little bit as you start to speak because it's obvious you're being sarcastic. And then you go, of course, I've made mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes. And some of the worst mistakes I've made were as a beginner, where I thought I needed to figure things out on my own without help. And I made mistakes that proved costly to my organization because it caused other people to be impacted by my mistake. If I had taken the time to ask for help instead of always trying to go alone and figure it out on my own, and again, notice I'm being theatrical because it's not just what you say that matters, it's how you say it that's important. So the goal here is to appear sincere, to appear playful, and to say, of course I've made mistakes. I've made a lot of them. That's after you do the comment about, oh no, I have never made a mistake professionally. I am the perfect individual. By the way, I have a bridge in Brooklyn you might be interested in. And it just lightens everything up. Now, if you're in a quantitative role with people who don't have a sense of humor, don't do that remark. But for many people, they will enjoy you that much more if you say and do things along these lines. Okay. Now I'm going to do one more question today and wrap, unless I get a question from the viewers, because I know there's some of you out there who are not talking, but you're watching, because I get little notifications through StreamYard that you're out there. So if you've got a question, let me see. I put the same question into. Okay, there it is. How does LinkedIn verification work, and what are its benefits? So let me start with the benefits. The benefits are, and I'll speak from my own experience, I am getting messages in my messaging app on LinkedIn from people who want me to buy franchises and want to be my friends and a lot of things in the middle. And I know they are people who are phony profiles. The people who want to be my friends are the worst. Now, you can tell this face is not 24. However, I get messages from people who are 24, women. They appear to be very attractive, at least the photo. I don't have the time to bring the image up. And thank you, Todd. I got a message from someone I presented to on Saturday in New Jersey. So thank you, Todd. I appreciate the compliment. And if you've got a question for me, I'd be happy to answer before I end after this question. So how does LinkedIn verification work and what are its benefits? It allows you to know that it's a real human being on the other side, a real person. Now, how it works is you provide documentation. You scan documentation to LinkedIn. And I don't remember the full process. I did it a few months ago, but you can Google how to become verified on LinkedIn, and you wind up with a check mark next to your name, which verifies that you're a human being. So this isn't like the blue check marks on the old Twitter, where it's an indication of hi, I'm a celebrity. Ooh, I'm an influencer. Ooh. On LinkedIn, it's I'm a real human being. I'm not just a spam profile, because one of the things I think I had to put in, not my social security card, but something I want to say related to my passport. So Again, Google it so you can see what's required. Follow the process. I think you can only do it on mobile rather than on your laptop or what have you. But it verifies that you're a human being. So if you message someone, they know you're legit. So before I check out, I'll just simply say, if you've got a question for me, put it into chat so I can answer it. I'm Jeff Altman. Visit my website, jobsearch.community. I've got a lot there that'll help you. Um, I'll also say, as I'm putting into chat, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com. Where is it? Oh, that's interesting. There we go. LinkedIn.com/IN/the big game hunter. Mention that you saw this. I like knowing I'm helping some folks. Also, my podcast, No BS Job Search Advice Radio, is the #1 podcast in Apple Podcasts for job search. I've been on air since November 20th, 2010. And on April 3rd, I believe I hit episode 2900 of the show. No podcast is anywhere near that in the job search space. I'm sure in some sectors there are shows with more shows than mine, but in job search, 2,900 as of April 30th. Now, I'll also say jobsearch.community, great resources to help you. Great resources to help you with your job search. Go there, download some of the free content that's available to you. Enjoy. It will help. And I hope you become an insider for $49 a month. You get access to all my video courses, books, and guides, all the stuff behind the paywall, as well as the ability to ask me questions through the site. I normally respond within 24 hours. I know in early April, there's a day I won't be able to do that, but no matter. You can, if you become an Insider Plus member, you get all of that. Plus, what you're able to do is get me on 2 Zoom calls a month and become an Insider Premium member. We do one-on-one or group coaching. Now, if you need hourly work, message me and we'll figure out a rate and a time for that. I don't currently offer that through the site, but I'll give you access to all the content as well if you just need hourly work from me. And I just want to close out by saying, I hope you have a terrific day. I hope this has been helpful to you, and be great. Take care.